Like, is Michigan okay? Why do I feel every time I walk into a grocery store that I'm living my personal hell? Everything is so expensive. I get 3 items and I'm cooked. It's like, where are we going with this? When is this gonna stop? What am I supposed to do? This is outrageous. I don't know why everything is so expensive. And once I buy it, I walk out the grocery store and it's already expired. Like, what's going on?
Yeah. Let's talk about the food only lasting 1 day. You get 1 to 2 days maximum. Maybe 3. I don't use that lucky word, but if things go in your favor, right, you might get 3 days out of it. Either that or it lasts forever. It don't expire to 2028. It's like, all right, now, y'all got some super strong preservatives in there. I don't even want it. What y'all put in this?
I live in a place that I can't afford. I work so very hard to not be able to afford to live in Virginia. In my area, everything is so expensive, and for what I do, for the corporation I work for, which is a very big corporation in this area, I still can't afford to live here. Nowadays, you cannot get a decent apartment without paying thousands of dollars to live there, and I'm being told I don't make enough money to buy a home where I live, where I work, where I pay taxes. I can't afford to buy a house. I don't make enough money for that. I think it's just so sad and sucky to put so much work in to look up and realize you only paid bills and taxes and you can't afford to have something of your own without making a ton of money, which you should be able to make the money to live where you work and pay taxes. It makes me so frustrated to be a single mom, to be a full-time worker, to actually do well at what I do and still not be able to have things of my own because the area does not pay its people what it costs to live in the area. That is so insane to me.
Middle class is learning the hard way. That middle class is been eradicated, right? I don't think anybody ever explained it to middle class that that's what's happening. They're seeing it, but I don't think they understand it.
I was having this discussion with somebody in the gym, and they were saying, why do you think Americans are accepting like what's going on currently? And I said, I'll be honest with you, man. It's like somebody being in an abusive relationship, right? Most people that are in an abusive relationship, they know that they're in an abusive relationship, but they won't leave. For whatever reason, they'll stay in that abusive relationship. They'll continue to get abused. And I said, if you think about Americans, they're just used to being abused. It is the norm. It is like this long relationship that has always been the norm. It's always been this way. When we see a little change, it's like a person getting better, but then they go back to their old ways. And it's almost like we think like, well, we know what good looks like, but then the bad is really bad. And I think that's the situation we're in right now. We're like, well, we know what good looks like. We know what our top tier looks like. But when it's bad, it's bad.
That was a good example. The American people are used to the gaslighting. And when you've been abused for so long, you start to take up for the abuser. Being America, right? People will advocate for what's happening, right? It's always been like this. That doesn't mean it's right just because it's always been like that, though. It's not until you leave that situation or said country, then you realize what you were experiencing was not right. You shouldn't have dealt with that. You should have been left. It's the same thing. That was a perfect example. Yes, sir.
A lot of times when you're in an abusive relationship, you're looking at the highs. But honestly, the cons outweigh the pros. But people don't look at it like that. And I think that's the current state that we are in America right now. Right now, the cons outweigh the pros. But we're just hoping on this high. It's almost like buying a lottery ticket. It's almost like if I hit this, I'll be set. But the chances of you hitting the lottery are slim to none. And that is the best way I can explain this situation. And after I explained it that way, he said, man, I never looked at it from that point of view. I was like, dude, that's what it is. And until we as a U.S. citizens break out of this abusive relationship, it'll continue to happen. And that's what it is. Hopefully this is helpful to somebody.
The American government did a good job with indoctrinating the people. They've convinced American citizens that this is the greatest country out there. When American citizens leave the country and go elsewhere, they realize these other countries are a lot better. They don't deal with the things that you deal with back at home in America. The food is real. The people are different. They don't act the same. They don't think the same. They don't look at life the same. They're not as stressed out. They value one another. They're not so money hungry, chasing the dollar as much. It's more than just a culture shock. You having an awakening. You're shocked by the fact that things are not the way that you thought they were, in the way that they were told to you. You get what I'm saying? It takes for you to leave the country. If you never left the country, I advise you to leave the country at least one time, and it'll change your perspective. It'll change the way you view America. And more than likely, you're going to want to get out. You're going to probably come back home, grind hard to go, right? There's a lot of people grinding hard right now to go. Plenty of people that have been grinding hard to go have already left. They've made it out. Other people are waiting on their turn.
So my rent is close to $2,000. Food cost is going up. I just filled up my gas tank. It was like $48. My car payment's close to $500. My insurance is between 1 and 2. My light bill's about 2 something. My internet's 100 and something. My phone bill's about close to 100. But yet, $45,000 is too much for a single person in income. Are you kidding me? Like, at this point, I just want to live in my car for like 6 months and save money. Is anybody else struggling? Like, damn, Craig, it's not that I ain't got no money. It's not that I ain't got no money. Everything's so fucking expensive. Like we have to pay to live. Not even our water's free.
All right, so look, the world is done with America, and most Americans are too. Think about that for a second. For decades, this country has sold itself as the greatest nation on earth, the land of freedom, the land of opportunity, the model that the rest of the world should follow, that the rest of the world should look up to. That story worked for a while. It was powerful enough to cover up the cracks. But the cracks are just too big now, and people aren't buying it anymore. Not the world outside of America, or the people who live inside of America. Nobody believes the story that America is telling anymore. Nobody is buying it. Let's start with how it looks on the outside. Other nations pay attention to what America does, not just what it says. And what they see is contradiction. America talks about democracy, but history has shown that it has interfered with elections and overthrown governments all over the globe. America talks about peace, but it's been at war almost nonstop for generations. America talks about freedom, yet its foundation is built on stolen land, on exploitation, on slavery. And the people who live outside of the U.S. can see this clearly, and they're tired of pretending that they don't. Now, in the last decade, this global projection of America has sped up. America has pulled out of global agreements, insulted its allies, and started pushing the America First message. Now, I know at home in America, this sounded bold and noble, but to the rest of the world, it looked selfish. It looked reckless, unstable. It said America doesn't want a partnership. It just wants control. And what did other nations do? They started making their own trade deals. They built new alliances that didn't include the U.S.
Like BRICS, these other countries are tired of it. They're fed up with America. They don't want to be a part of anything America has going on. Straight up. They're all turning against America.
Even started making plans to move away from the dollar. And that is how empires decline. Not all at once, but step by step, as the trust erodes. And then came the United Nations meeting the other day. This was literally the biggest stage in the world. Every nation, every leader, every camera is watching. And what did America do? America's so-called leader stood up and called climate change the greatest con job ever. That man stood up there and he mocked global cooperation. He stumbled through the speech like it didn't even matter, like he didn't even care. And then the real icing on the cake, while he's standing on the global stage with all these cameras and all these countries and all these leaders watching, this man tells all these countries that they're going to hell. Just sit with that for a moment. Think about that. The so-called leader of the free world, standing in front of the entire planet, telling every nation in the world that they're going to hell. And what was the response? The world laughed. They didn't clap. They didn't cheer. They laughed out loud. That moment right there was the mask slipping in real time.
Now, to be real, all the nations are going to hell. They've drunk from the cup. They're going to feel the wrath of the Most High. I'm going to just say that their sins are stacked as tall as heaven, right? They've all partaken from that cup. So that part ain't no lie, though. America included, they all going down. We talking about the leaders now. We talking about the elites now. We talking about the people that's been in control, that's been destroying the planet, man, making it worse, man. Following Azazel plans, agendas, and ways of being.
Now, while the world outside of America is losing faith in America, the people who live in America are also losing faith in America. Look at the daily life we have here. The wages that we make have been stuck for decades, yet the rent and everything else is getting more expensive every second, every minute. Like right now, you can literally walk into a store with half a cart of groceries and pay more than what you used to for a full cart's worth of groceries. Like you spend more money on this half cart of groceries right now than you would have on a full cart of groceries not too long ago. Like you're working harder and harder, but your money stretches less and less a year. Does that feel like greatness, or does that feel like survival? Healthcare is the same story. Healthcare in America costs more than anywhere in the world. Millions of American citizens can't even afford to go to the doctor. We have people rationing medicine, families drowning in medical debt. Some folks won't even stop at the hospital because they know that a hospital trip could potentially bankrupt them. That doesn't look like freedom. That looks like failure. Homelessness. Homelessness is at the highest record that it's ever been, at the highest level that it's ever been. And it's not just cities anymore. You see tents under bridges in small towns. You see families sleeping in cars. You see people stuck in motel rooms because they have nowhere else to go. You have entire communities being priced out of existence because the wages are flat. And that is not the mark of a healthy nation. That's the sign of a system collapsing. And here's the kicker. Life expectancy here is lower than in countries that have less money. Like, we spend more on healthcare than anyone, but we live shorter lives. That alone should tell you that something is very, very wrong. And the world sees all of this. They see the mass shootings every week while America lectures about safety. They see overflowing prisons while leaders brag about freedom. They see billion-dollar disasters hitting every year while politicians argue whether climate change is real or not. They see billionaires getting richer and richer every day while the average everyday citizen has to work 2 or 3 jobs just to barely get by, like just pay the rent and to have something to eat. So from the outside, America doesn't look like a leader. It looks like a country in decline, and Americans feel it too. Trust in the government, in the media, in corporations is at a rock bottom.
It doesn't just feel like the system is collapsing. It is collapsing. I think he did a great job explaining what's going on in a way that could be felt and understood by each and every single one of us. So I don't got to break it down no more. I'm going to end it off like that. I appreciate y'all. Peace to my Hebrew fam. Shalom.